We have a saying around here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, no brains, no headache.
Well, hello, boys.
What's up? What's up?
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Welcome to episode 239 of No Brains, No Headache podcast. It's good to be back here in the studio for yet another recording of No Brains, No Headache. Across from me, my co-host, confidant, longtime friend, fellow comedian. His name is Matt Cleary. I call him Ongo. Some call him Matty Applesauce. I'm Jordan Weichel, going to be your host today, as always, and the boys are back in town.
Boys
back in town. Wow, that was actually pretty good.
Nice, harmonized and everything.
Yeah. Let's
That's
quit.
the end of the show.
Yeah, all right.
Just got to get our acapella group so we can get our dick sucked later.
What would you name? What would you name our acapella group?
Okay, so like three. Oh, how about this? No, that's bad.
Hear me out.
Peas Company.
Bone Jugs and Harmony.
That's good.
Yeah.
I was at a golf tournament and it was like tropical.
Like recently or just in general?
Yeah, like recently, like last week. And we had to come up with a name that was like tropical related. So I came up with the Ku Klux Sand. Apparently,
Got some horrible reviews out of the gate.
It was not in good taste.
I mean,
I'm not allowed to play next year.
Let's just say I can't go within 1,000 feet of the premises.
Or school.
But we're back. We did a little vacation, and we took 1 week off. And boy, you know you have a good fan base. By the way, thank you so much for listening. But you know you have a great base of fans out there. When they get upset at you for taking 1 week off because we are both out of town. We were both in different states. We weren't even in the same state with each other. We were both on the south side of America.
We could have given you an episode. It would have just been us sitting here waiting for like an hour to be up and be like, all right, see you later.
Yeah, and I do apologize for taking the week off. But yes, Matt and I took some vacations, which were very much needed. I'm glad we did it. Also, we had an interview lined up. And that fell through, and it was like the day that we were going to record before we left town, or I left town first anyway. It was like, all right, we're on, we're off, we're on, we're off. When that happens, it's just best just to cancel it. So thank you for your patience, but we're back. And I do appreciate, people like getting taking personal jabs at me because we didn't do one episode. We have 238 episodes. In that time, it's almost just under 5 years. Matt, how many weeks do you think we've taken off in that time?
Maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah, I would say maybe 10. And if we took off weeks that weren't holidays, major holidays, that's like very few and far in between.
I woke up on Tuesday morning and I was on vacation.
Yep.
I woke up to a text that says, "Where the new episode, dick bag."
I got called the fuck toilet. So, I mean,
that's arguably worse than dick bag.
Yeah, I know. We're just getting it from everybody. But thank you to our loyal listeners for hanging in there. How was your trip to Austin, Texas?
It was super fun, but
I was about to say there's a butt in here. Big old butt.
But Austin, from the last time that we went down there, like 4 years ago,
pre-comedy, we weren't even doing comedy,
was remarkably nicer. Outside
when we
of,
went.
Outside of like 6th Street, it is just homeless city now. Like there was homeless people when we were there, but like on a new level. And
that tends to happen in major markets.
Which I wasn't like, but I went to like a jazz band one night with Denko Andy, who's now in Texas. So
Texaco Andy.
Texaco Andy. He's also a gas station.
How's he doing?
Good. He's just being a nurse and
male nurse
and trying to get his chicken sandwich reviews off the ground.
He has had what's his Twitter handle? Chicken and
it's like sports betting and chicken sandwich reviews, and he's yet to do a single chicken sandwich review, and he sucks at sports betting.
Yeah, all his bets are cold as can be.
I don't get in Texas because they're like, weed is not legal here, yet they sell like a variation of it, and literally everyone openly smokes everywhere.
That's in Texas. It's
Yeah.
not legal.
Yeah,
Interesting. What is legal in Texas?
it's like Delta 9 or whatever.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
If I were to partake, I would say it was okay.
If you did.
Yeah, if hypothetical,
Let's
like
just throw a hypothetical out there. We're not saying you did. We're not saying you didn't.
I will say they have this beer down there, Lone Star.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like-
all the rave.
It's like their Bush Light, kind of. It's such a good beer.
Did you get any six packs by any chance?
I didn't.
Okay, I've heard in Texas, you know how the ring of six packs up here in the North Dakota part of the country, and probably every other 48 states, the ring goes just around the top. You know, I got a soda pop can here. The ring just goes around the top. In Texas, the ring goes around the middle.
That makes more sense because I always drop a beer off of like a 6-pack.
Well, quit doing the windmill with your six pack, and then maybe that won't happen.
But so they had this deal because I signed up for Kill Tony. Plot twist, didn't get on. And
Shocked.
so there was like 300 of us that signed up in this like 2-story bar, and it's just the conglomerate of the weirdest individuals you've ever seen.
And let me guess, not many are even drinking, so the bartenders are just like,
There was quite a few drinking. I ran into this English guy, also named Matt, who was the drunkest. At one point, he was just bleeding from his face.
and he didn't know, did he?
He was just like, oh, yeah, I'll get that fixed. And he was so drunk that it was just oozing. And then, like, I think at one point he had, like, a sticker and a paper towel from the bathroom trying to, like, fashion some sort of tourniquet on his wound. I'm like, how'd you get that? He's like, I don't know.
Just wasted, but you guys are all sitting in the bar and you
Yeah.
sign up. How early do you have to get there?
Not entirely that early because it goes, like, super quick to sign up because they just basically go through, like, a couple hundred people, and then you have to wait there for like 3 hours.
Is it like, do they come to you, or do you go up to a table and
You like go up, you like get in line, and then but the line goes like right by the bar, so like we were just like, oh sweet, just buying more drinks. And
I'm just curious, like, are the bartenders there just like, God damn it, all these goddamn comedians again?
this guy was pretty cool. He was like just this jacked dude, big old beard, bald head, and he's some guy comes up to him and he gives him like a thanks buddy, or like
Ooh, the buddy's never great.
good man. And I could just see it in his eyes, that his eyes were just like, and the guy leaves and he's like, you were about to kill that guy, weren't you? He's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, you don't call a jacked man with
Yeah.
a big beard and a bald head buddy. He can call you buddy, and you can't say anything about it.
and then you just fucking take that punch right to the face. But they did have a deal where it was like their Monday special where it was a shot of tequila and a Lone Star for $8.
Sounds like the worst combination ever.
It really wasn't good, but like after 3 of them, you're like, oh, Lone Star, a shot of tequila.
Bumping a beer.
That's what I think it was. They called it a Texas handshake.
Oh,
And yeah, it was at about 1 million of those. And then the last night we were there, we went and saw Matt McCusker, who co-wrote Tires with Shane Gillis at the Comedy Mothership. And the comedian right before Matt's about to come out, she's like, oh, guys, give it up for your next comedian, Joe Rogan. And we're all like, oh, good one. Like, she's fucking with us. And then Joe Rogan just blasts through the curtain, does like 25 minutes of the best stand-up I've seen him do, like from watching his specials.
nice.
And that was freaking unreal. You never seen like every dude in the crowds chanting like elk meat, elk meat.
Really?
No, but like Brando, who I was with, tried to start a single person standing ovation and no one went along with it.
Well, you can't blame him for trying. You got to do it. But that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was nuts. There's like 1 million open mics down there though.
Yeah.
And they all suck except for like 5 of them. And those are like super hard to get on.
Yeah.
You have to like get super lucky. Or you can just be like, you'll go to one where it's like literally 2 people in the crowd who like don't know they're at an open mic.
Sounds like Bismarck open mic.
It sounds, like
It's like, okay, so there's 5 good ones in Austin, and then the rest of them are like Bismarck open mics where people are just like out to dinner.
I was explaining,
like, oh shit, it's open mic night.
I was explaining, like, yeah, it's like a big show down there is like 60 to 80 people.
Really?
Yeah, there's not a lot of like theaters. Like the Mothership, the big room holds like maybe 150 at tippy top max.
Yeah, that's probably for the best. Keep it more exclusive, a little more intimate, and then I mean, you're just gonna kind of condition your crowd to be like, hey, if you want to be here, that's what you're here for, and you got to enjoy it. And was there any hecklers at all? Anybody doing that kind of crap?
Not really. They did like some crowd work. Honestly, one of my favorite jokes was I think Sean Gardini. He opens up for Matt McCusker a lot, and he's like the most like monotone, like lack of energy. Looks kind of like Jake Gyllenhaal if Jake Gyllenhaal like didn't work out, and just kind of like,
so he's like you on stage.
yeah, just like lethargic. Like, is this guy alive?
You're just yawning.
Yeah.
You're laughing, but you're also yawning.
And he would do like, all right, here we go, crowd work. And like, then he would point to someone. And then he was talking about politics, and he's like, all right, I'm done with crowd work, and I'm done with politics. And he like pauses for 15 seconds, and he just points at a guy like in the 6th row and goes, who'd you vote for? It was so fun. Like, it was such like an easy joke, but like it really gave me a new like lease into comedy, because 1, you got to see some guys that are really good at it.
Yes.
And then 2, you got to see people that are like, I do this full time. And I was like, you suck.
Yeah.
I can do this. Like, because there's times where you get like beaten down, or like, this sucks. Like, I don't want to keep doing this.
Yeah, I mean, any sort of entertainment's definitely a roller coaster of emotions. It's up and it's down. You got motivation some days. Some days you're not feeling funny. Some days you don't feel like singing. Yeah. But guess what? You got a gig and you got to do it. And you did an open mic.
Yeah. I mean, I was wasted. Like,
how do you think it went?
Okay. Like, I just did like 5 minutes of like the jokes that I've been doing for 2 years.
Was it a little refreshing kind of being in a new market, new area, new crowd, where it's like, okay, besides maybe the people that you were with that were there, they've heard that, but nobody else has heard your jokes before?
That was kind of cool to see that from like a new person, to kind of like get that like reassurance that like, oh, okay, well, I know I've done this joke in front of these people 14 times.
Yeah.
So maybe they don't laugh, but these other people that heard it for the first time.
That's what I will say. I will give Bismarck and Mandan comedy a little bit of credit there. I did the shake with the Mandan. I guess so. But it definitely forces us to write new stuff all the time, and definitely stay on your best game. Whereas maybe in other markets, that's not the case. So glad you got to experience Austin, Texas in our comedy era now. I love how you and I went down there pre-comedy era. And it was a lot different. Did you go to Tommy Want Wingy?
No, Rainy Street. Like, homeless people have ruined Rainy Street.
Really?
I think there's other locations, but like, so there was probably like 15, 20 bars on Rainy Street when we were there.
Yeah, it's just kind of a stretch of an old neighborhood, essentially.
There's maybe 2 or 3 now.
Really?
Yeah, there's that big brewery still open, and then like the one where I played the dildo slot.
The slide?
Yeah. That one I think is still open. Then there's maybe one other one.
The dildo claw machine that you didn't realize. You just wanted to play a claw machine and you didn't realize that.
Sorry, you had a couple drinks and I was trying to just get a black double-sided dildo.
I do love when, you tell people like, you do comedy and, maybe you want to get out of Bismarck someday and go do it somewhere else. And people are like, you should move to Austin, Texas. Here's Austin, Texas for comedy. Okay. Here's 50 feet of homeless people. and then here is the rest of America, 50 feet of shit.
Yeah, 50 feet of the homeless people's shit.
Yeah. And then Bismarck. Like, that is such a leap to take. And it's like, oh, yeah, why don't I go to the most saturated market for comedians and try to pursue a career in comedy? So I can just go work at a restaurant as a fucking waiter.
Most of the dudes there either like had a job and moved there, which I get it. Like, if you want to do comedy and like, yeah, it's a if you have a job and it's not like I'm 100% in on comedy, then yeah, maybe it's fun to just go there, meet people. There is a lot of people, however, like I overheard a guy say, and I'm quoting this, yeah, I did like 4 open mics and then I just said fuck it and moved to Austin. And I was like,
that is a bold man. I thought I was irrational.
yeah. After I've done 4 open mics, I didn't even have one decent joke written.
Yeah. Look back at the old jokes or our very first shows, because reminder to our loyal listeners out there, when Matt and I started comedy, we didn't do an open mic to even practice. We literally did 20-minute sets raw and just went into the world of stand-up comedy.
I feel so bad for the people that went to those shows.
Well, I appreciate that.
I appreciate it.
I think in the time, though, and especially as a crowd member, it's a lot different. Since we do comedy, I think we have a different perception of what stand-up comedy should be. But it is interesting just to see the progression. Like for me, for example, when you're running an open mic and doing shows, when I see somebody come do their very first open mic set, maybe it's just a one and done. Maybe they're getting into it and they want to start it.
They always do well.
They always do well. They're always very well choreographed. They're always very highly motivated, very inspired. What I have experienced is personally, and what I've seen, that wears off after a while. Because you get to these weeks where, you have the rest of your life to worry about, whether it's work, family, social life, your other hobbies. Those tend to get in the way, and you have all that. You're full of piss and vinegar to do well because you're excited, you're nervous, and then you do it, and then it wears off. I'm just going to be honest with you. It wears off, and I think what really makes, a decent comedian or somebody who really cares about it, wants to do it, is showing up week in and week out, going to your open mics as much as you can, not really taking any breaks, and still doing it.
Yeah,
and we've done that for, coming up on 3 years now, 2.5 years. So
last open mic night, I was going through some pretty heavy alcohol withdrawals.
That was funny because you did very well, and you had the most confidence I've ever seen you have on stage, and then you went like rather long for an open mic and compared to what you've done in the past. And like during your set, I leaned over to one of our other comedian friends. I was like, he goes to Austin, Texas once, and he just thinks he's the man. But you did really well.
Yeah. Well, I kind of, you pick up a lot when you watch guys that are really good at comedy.
Yeah.
Like of how to structure jokes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it kind of gave me like, to when I'm writing a joke now, I don't just be like, here's the punchline. I'm like, all right, let's build this thing a little bit. It's like a house. You don't just build the master bedroom.
Yeah, that is usually, storytelling 101.
Yeah, let me touch on this, by the way. I don't really want to say names, but let's call them American Airlines can suck my dick. We're there Tuesday. We're all leaving Wednesday at 6 a.m. American Airlines just cancels all of our flights. And so 2 guys get rescheduled for Thursday, so they have to stay another day out of their own pocket. I just did what I do, and I was like, I'm just not going to touch it. I'll book a Southwest flight and then get on my normal connecting flight. And then 2 other guys were like, really jump the gun and rented a car, drove 4 hours to Dallas, and then got on the plane.
The same flight that you had.
And I, for whatever reason, American just put me on an 8:30 flight the next morning, and so the other 2 guys that were going to drive were like, oh, let's just get on that flight. And apparently you have to have a severe learning disability to work at American Airlines because they had the flight number, the time it took off, and they're like, we can't find that flight. They're like, we can't get you on that flight. It took off yesterday. They're like, how about this? We'll put you on a flight at 2:55 in the afternoon. And they're like, that's great. So I can time travel to get on my 11:45 flight to take me home. And they're like, yeah, I guess that won't work. And it's like, how did we have to have this conversation?
I don't know. There's a whole lot of logic and reason missing from that. And I'm thankful that I didn't have to do that. I prefer to go to places
one stop,
the direct flight. out of Bismarck, that doesn't give you a whole lot of options, but you still have a decent amount of options. So
I mean, you can get to both coasts and Chicago.
No, that's good though that you guys went down to Austin, had a good time for sure. Sounds like you definitely got after it. The energy was very volatile when you got back, which means that you had a really good time. So there's always that. Did your Airbnb, are you pretty convinced that it was made for orgies?
It was. So our Airbnb had like anchor bolts for sex swings at every corner of the house. Had a lot of crystals
Yeah.
that like plugged in.
You need to charge them in the moonlight.
And the cherry on top was you walk into the main living room and you turn on the light and it's just a disco ball that's spinning and shooting out lights.
Oh, yeah.
And none of the furniture was practical unless you were having 6 to 7 dudes plow 1 to 2 females.
Sounds like an orgy house to me if I've ever heard one. But that's good. I went down to Arizona myself. I don't really have a whole lot to report on. I took the weekend. I was debating hitting an open mic, but I decided against it. I didn't look at my emails for a few days. That was nice. Went on a few hikes. That was great. Saw some old friends. I did sing some karaoke, so the poor people of northern Arizona are now scarred with Hard Working Man by Brooks and Dunn, sang by me. I sang it not once, but 2 nights in a row at the same place.
I thought you did it at the same place in the same night. Like,
No,
there wasn't a lot of people signed up, so you go, someone else goes, and they're like, give it up for Jordan with Hardworking Man again.
Well, it is funny. The first night, I was about 3 sheets to the wind. One thing I did learn about my Arizona trip, I still like to drink heavily,
Nice.
it turns out, and just kind of make an ass of myself. So that's always fun. But the first night I went, I signed up as Cowboy Gordon. Just because that's what you get a couple drinks in me, and I get a southern accent, and
Name's Gordon. Ha!
and then it was funny. The next night I showed up because I had a different friend in town, and I wanted her to experience the glory that is Hardworking Man. So I went up to the karaoke DJ guy, Ray was his name, a very old gentleman, and I was like, I'm kind of thinking about doing the same song. How do you feel about that? And he's like, well, there's not a whole lot of the same people here, so go for it. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So I wrote Jordan down. So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting, and next thing you know, I hear, let's give it up for Cowboy Gordon. So apparently I left a mark on
They
this.
call you it once.
Yeah, this bar was called Jackass Bar and Grill, and boy, was I a jackass.
That's a great name.
Yeah, I went to the smoking room, bummed a cigarette. Damn it.
Wake up in the morning, you're just like,
Yeah, it was a good time, but it was nice to get away. I didn't have any flight obstructions. I got In-N-Out Burger right before I left town, so that was really the cherry on top. And it was actually funny. I was in a little higher elevation of Arizona, so you constantly think oh, Arizona's always warmer, nicer than Bismarck, North Dakota. The last morning I was there, went for a little walk, and before I went out, I didn't have many clothes because I just shove everything in a backpack. I don't do a carry-on, just the cheapest flight possible. And so I just checked the temperature just to see what I was in for. Where I was located was 36 degrees that morning.
Jeez.
Checked Bismarck's forecast, 41 degrees. So
talk about good luck. You go to Arizona and get colder temperatures.
No, it was fine for temperature overall, and I was very comfortable. I managed to get a little bit of a sunburn on one of my hikes, but no, it was really good to see my friends. Thank you to my friends for hosting me, showing me a good time, driving me around. So yeah, I had a lot of fun, and we stopped in a little town called Rim Rock. And I couldn't remember what the name was, so I kept calling it Rim Job. And I said it so much that my friends started referring to it as Rim Job, Arizona. So there's that. And then we also went to a place called, oh boy, I don't even remember the name, but I kept calling it Rockies, Roscoe's, and Rodney's. All 3 were wrong. So I don't even know, but that was the first stop of the trip, and it was actually a great time. Had some good chicken wings, partook in a little bit of trivia. It was trivia night, and Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to report on. It was just nice to get away for a few days.
So
and I'm excited to get back down there.
in Austin, there was one night we were out. It was like 1:30 in the morning, and I decided that I wanted to get Sonic. So I Ubered or Lyfted, because I don't have Uber, to a Sonic, and it was very clearly closed.
You still went up to the door and like knocked on it, like kicked in.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a drive-through only, so I'm not really sure what I was gonna do when the Lyft driver got there. Like, yeah, can you just take me through and I'll get you something? And so there was a gas station nearby, so I went in and I was just kind of wander to the back. And the guy clearly knows what I'm doing. He's like, beer sales are done at midnight. And I just turn around and walk out of the gas station. And then I like look, I'm like, couldn't figure out the Lyft app again. So I'm like, I don't really know where I am. I figure out where our Airbnb is. And I'm like, oh, it's only 1.5 miles away. So I walk 1.5 miles. Not really realizing the next day until we're driving through that I just walked through like some of the sketchiest area that I had.
Yeah.
Like a lot of boarded up houses and like.
Yeah, I did that in Denver one time.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know what. And they're like, where did you go? And I was like, I thought I wanted a slushie from Sonic. Turns out they were closed for the last 4 hours. Then I went to the gas station and the guy wouldn't sell beer to me. So I walked through the projects to get to our Airbnb.
What can you do? The boys are back in town and it's episode 239.
Okay. Let's party.
I do got to say, though, one final note. When I was getting heckled for not putting out one episode per week, because both you and I were out of town and sometimes need a little break every once in a while, a little me time. One of the people that was talking to me was like, you know what I love about your podcast? And I was like, what's that? And he's like, when you guys have nothing to talk about.
Dude,
I was like, that's been like the last 5 episodes.
Awesome.
He's like, dude, it's awesome. It's the best when you guys just don't have anything to talk about. But that's why we took a break. We're back, Matt. What do we got?
I need you to play this. So it's called Baylen Out Loud. I think I spelled it wrong on the rundown. It is a new TLC show, and this one might be the best ever.
All right, let me pull it up here.
So before you open it,
okay,
I will preface this with Baylen has severe Tourette's, but it's not like any Tourette's I've ever seen. She says like full sentences when she ticks.
I feel like I've seen this person because I did recognize it. And are we going to get in trouble for playing this?
No, it doesn't have any music.
Hi, everybody. My name is Baylen, and I have a 9-inch penis. God damn. God damn. God damn. John 3:12 scumbag. I have Tourette syndrome, and I have a show coming out on Monday called Baylen Out Loud. And I wanted to just clarify that you're bald. God damn! Line it up. I wanted to just clarify that this show is about my life with Tourette. This isn't about me being the face of Tourette. This is not being shown as an example of what Tourette looks like in everyone. This show is dedicated about what my life is like living with Tourette. And it's not about basically, I'm not the face of Tourette. Everyone's Tourette case is different in everybody, but this is just a reminder. The show Baylen Out Loud is about me living with Tourette, not what Tourette looks like in every single body.
Let's just start that.
Everybody, my name is Baylen, and I have a 9-inch penis. God damn. God damn. God damn. John 3:12 scumbag.
John 3:12 scumbag.
She does this one where she's like, Joe Biden's buried in my backyard. Or she's like sitting there with her sister, and she's like, I can't remember what her sister's name. She's like, Jamie has crabs, and her sister's like, I don't. And they're like, Jamie has hemorrhoids. She's like, I don't. Jamie has a vagina. She's like, I do.
Yeah, I think I've seen that clip before.
It is. I'm a big Little People, Big World fan, but this one might be the most entertaining TLC show I've ever watched.
Are we supposed to be laughing uncontrollably?
I mean, they laugh the whole time during the show.
Okay.
She tries to go on an airplane, and she can't stop saying, "I have a gun." Yeah, so like the show starts like she has a boyfriend and they're like moving in together.
Does he have a 9-inch penis?
I don't know, he's in the army or something, maybe. And they're like talking about how like she can't, they like when they do movie night, he's like, yeah, I have to be really careful about what I pick, because sometimes if something triggers one of her tics in a movie, she's like, it can't be anyone, no one can be bald, or she'll just sit there and go, he's bald the whole time. I watched like the first 10 minutes of the first episode and I was just in tears laughing.
What is it on?
TLC.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a TLC show.
It's-
John and 8 plus Kate.
It's so good. And I've actually heard of this girl before, like watching like, I think it was like My Strange Addictions or something. And they were just hurting for a week. So like, this isn't an addiction, but we can put this girl's disease on there.
My addiction is constantly saying, I have a gun. When getting on the plane. But isn't that like...
She'd be like, there's a bunch of vaginas in the White House.
Yeah. And I get it with air travel in modern day, you have to be careful. But isn't that the whole point of TSA? Like, how could you have gotten a gun in there? Like,
Yeah.
But who knows these days? You ever seen Con Air? You know, you never know what can happen.
I mean, maybe they like have to have some sort of precaution that if you have Tourette's, you just like wear a balloon or something in the airport. So if you hear something weird and it's coming from the balloon person, you'd be like, oh, never mind. They're
Got it.
okay.
Well, Matt has a new favorite show coming out, so that's nice.
It's at the season 1 finale's coming up, I think this week. Or when she got introduced to her boyfriend's parents, her tick was, I'm pregnant.
She just has the worst, like no matter the situation,
Yo,
just cannot help it out.
It was she'll be like, I'm pregnant. She's like, oh, sorry, no, I'm not pregnant.
Well, Baylen,
Yeah.
he spelt it wrong.
Yeah, I think it auto-corrected, or I'm just retarded.
Either or. Well, moving on, we got a lot to go through because we actually do have stuff to talk about. And apparently that's not what we're supposed to do as a podcast. But I checked out my nephew's traveling basketball game, as we call it, travel ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it made me just reminisce on our days of playing the old traveling basketball together, because in one game they were getting just blown out. And Matt and I, we used to play traveling basketball together amongst other sports. And
We were historically the worst team
oh
in
my gosh,
States.
we were so bad.
We lost every single game our 4th grade year. And I think we won one game our 5th grade year, and it was against like a team of 2nd and 3rd graders from a small town.
Well, I remember once we did go to a small town tournament, and there was one team, just far and away the best. They just blew everybody out. It was like a round robin tournament, and then the rest of us, it was just a battle of the R words. And I think we all beat each other once and then lost to each other, so we were all tied. It was like a 4-way tie. And it came down to a coin toss. I don't know if you remember this, but it came down to a coin toss tiebreaker. And we ended up getting 4th place, which at the time was sweet because we received a medal. It was like below bronze, whatever, like copper, I guess you could say. It was the size of like a 50-cent piece, and we were just jacked. And I remember driving back because we all like carpooled up there in like 2 different vehicles. In my particular vehicle, we took 4th place via a tiebreaker, mind you. On the drive back, we were blaring "We Are the Champions" by Queen the whole way home. And like not just listening to it, like we had the windows rolled down, like yelling at other cars and shit. And that's just when you know it's a good time.
I remember like some of the scores we had was like 73-9.
Yeah.
And like that point, I remember one time, I think it was like 6th grade. I don't know if we were playing on the same team anymore. But I had to go to soccer practice after, and I had to bring one of my friends, his name was also Jordan, to basketball with me for like an hour, and then we were going to soccer. And he was just hanging out there, and our coach was like, "Do you want to join the team?" And he joined our team for that entire year.
Just recruited him.
Yeah.
That's how you know you have a good squad, is when you just recruit the soccer player hanging out.
It was just
on
the
sideline.
Little Giants, but plot twist, we didn't win at the end.
I also remember, were you ever like nervous or scared before these games? I was just like the most nervous person before every single basketball game, because I was just so afraid of how blown out we were going to get.
I was more nervous if we were playing a team that was shitty, because then I'm like, this is going to look bad if we lose.
And then we did.
Yeah. I remember one time we were playing up at Guy Blow Christian School.
Yeah, and they had this flooring in there that was so weird.
Yeah, that was like old pancakes that they just threw down. Like, it was like plastic.
They were like Lego pieces that connected, and the basketball dribbled weird on it.
And I remember there was this team called the Apple Jacks. And there was like 6 minutes left in the second half. And the funny thing to do would be like when you're like 5, 4, you start counting down. There's like 8 minutes left. And this team just sucked. They have red shirts that had literally written on. Some parent was just like, oh, they want to play basketball. And they made us look like the New York Knicks. And we did that. There was like 6 minutes left in the second quarter. And we're like being cool. We're like 5, 4. And a kid just loads up from 3/4 of the court and just hucks it.
Our lucky probably made it.
No, it like literally like went out the sideline. And I just remember like one of the parents coming over and just unloading on me. And I was like, why are you guys even here?
Yeah, that's just ridiculous.
But R.I.P. the Apple Jacks. I think that was their one and only tournament.
Like, you know the play when you're trying to like save a ball from kind of going out of bounds, and there's the opponent there. So what you do is like you throw it off of them and it goes out. Yeah. So my nephew tried doing that, but it ricocheted back in bounds and went right to a player, and he scored a layup. and like we all burst out laughing.
It was just a good pass.
It was an assist. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they marked it down as an assist. So just padding the
What's
stats.
this -1 assist? Oh, it's when you assist the other team so well. We just made a category for it.
He had the right idea. It just didn't go the way he went. But I remember there was one time when we were younger where there was a particular parent who was not liking the officiating very much. And the ref had enough of it.
Was this at St. Joe's?
Yes, yes. It was, and maybe it's just my memory, but my memory of that particular gym, apparently they didn't believe in lighting because it was just so dark in there. Like, thankfully, it was a matinee, a day game, so we had some light coming in from outside. But do you remember that? Yeah. It was very dark.
There was like 6 lights in the entire gym.
I never understood that, but. I mean, take some money from the Catholic Church and put in some more lights. But yeah, the ref, we were lining up for free throws, so it kind of was quieted down a little bit. And this parent was just giving one of the refs just the best ass chewing ever. And the ref had enough, stopped the game, went over to the stands and kicked the guy out, and then did the whole stared him down as he walked down the bleachers and out. And then like the moment he exited the gym, he's like, "All right, we're shooting 2."
I do remember that guy getting tossed. I still remember what the ref looks like. Just huge mustache.
Yeah.
The only other thing I remember about that game is a player on the other team tried to start a defense chant while he was playing.
That takes guts.
He's playing defense.
There was one time when like our center, like the biggest guy, we had size, which was the thing. Well, kind of. Well, I think I was always nervous before the games because I was like the second biggest guy on our team, which wasn't great. So I always had to guard somebody way bigger than me. I did a bang up job, by the way. But we were trying to get the point of intentional fouling across to like our big guy on our team. And so he's just like, cherry picking from like mid court, and they get a breakaway, and he's the only one, but he's running with them. The kid goes up for a layup and he just shoves him, and the kid just goes flying into the wall. And yeah, it was the classic intentionally foul him, and then it was like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, I
Didn't know his own strength.
I remember one time our coach was saying trap him, but I thought they were saying foul him. And so I fouled him, but at the same point, I like tripped when I was running and went straight into the scores table. And it was one of those tournaments that like wasn't nice. So everything was on like the possession arrow and like the books and just destroyed everything.
That's the way to go.
I remember this is my last travel ball story. There was one time my good buddy Preston was playing on our team, and he was following a guy who was on a breakaway, and the guy jumped up for a layup, and he just undercut him. So the kid just did like a full backflip, landed on his head. Clear, like, this kid should never be able to play basketball again type of foul, and the kid's never going to walk again. And he comes over to me, he goes, wow, someone called the wambulance. Like, you just murdered him.
Well, I bring up the guy getting tossed from the game because I'm turning into somebody I don't want to be, because I was getting a little frustrated. And yeah, I was heckling the refs myself from the top row. And I always call refs, I call him Mr. Ref. And I'm like, come on, Mr. Ref. And
Stripes.
Yeah, I was yelling at him because these poor guys, they're reffing all day. They're probably getting paid nothing.
Yeah,
they're
it's
just like
$15 a
volunteering.
game.
And yeah, so they're a bit fatigued from calling 7th grade traveling basketball games all day, which aren't great. And yeah, I was definitely yelling at this guy. One time there was a very clear block, and he called the foul, and I stood up. I was like, that was all ball. You got to be kidding me. Yeah, I'm turning into that guy.
Jordan kicked himself out of the game.
Needless to say, I'm not allowed at Horizon Middle School anymore, so there goes that alma mater. Anyway, that's my travel ball. What else do we got? Episode 239.
So the movie Deep Impact might come true.
What's Deep Impact?
The movie, or Armageddon. They came out at the same time.
Okay, I don't know how that helps me figure out what Deep Impact is.
A meteor hits the Earth.
They made the same movie twice?
Pretty much. Deep Impact and Armageddon were like, one had Frodo in it, one had Bruce Willis.
Yeah, I'm the Bruce Willis Armageddon guy.
Yeah, Deep Impact, complete knockoff, but it might have came out first. But this is actually happening. There is a 3.1% chance that an asteroid 177 feet in diameter is going to hit the Earth. And it will cause an explosion. Make sure you don't go to the Deep Impact. That's a porn movie.
I'll be
It's
sure
also,
not
it's
to.
also not bad.
Okay, they both came out in 1998. Deep Impact has Morgan Freeman, Elijah Wood, Frodo, and Jon Favreau. So the only people I recognize.
I feel like Lily Sobieski was in something else.
Yeah, I have no idea. Oh, Morgan Freeman was the U.S. president. Yep. Oh, pre-Obama. It was ahead of its time.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty much the exact same movie.
Yeah, the descriptions. I feel like I should almost just read the descriptions back to back.
I think on Deep Impact, though, they don't really try to stop the meteorite. They're just like, all right, let's all get in caves. And
well, I think in Armageddon, there's a love interest where Ben Affleck is plowing Bruce Willis's daughter, and then he leaves himself on the asteroid to detonate the bomb. It's a sacrifice.
Yeah, it's a tough one to get over.
Thanks a lot, Liv Tyler, for ruining everything. Interesting. And it's going to happen in real life, you say? Yeah,
there's... So this 177-foot wide asteroid is scheduled to hit somewhere in South America or Africa.
Oh, whew.
Yeah.
We're good.
I mean, depending on where it's going to hit, I could definitely see the government being like, we might be better off without that place. But yeah, so I mean, we're not really in any danger, and it's not like the impact will be 500 times bigger than the bombs that they dropped on Hiroshima.
When's this going to happen?
2032.
Oh, we have time.
Yeah.
Are we going to send Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck
No.
up
Apparently,
there?
we're just letting China handle it because they're like all gung ho about doing it. Like they're testing this already about deflecting an asteroid. Like there's a smaller asteroid in 2027 that China is gonna be.
It's going to be some serious ground control. The Major Tom
Yeah, and
sitting in a tin can.
I love how this would be like a bigger story if it was even remotely possible it would hit the U.S. But
This is the first I'm
Yeah.
hearing of it. You're breaking news here on No Brains, No Headache.
I mean, it's a guy that had like I think he has like 175 followers, and he just like reports on NASA.
Okay, so this is definitely accurate.
No, it's a real thing. Like I did fact check it. This Colin Rugg guy is actually like a reporter.
Actually, like a reporter.
I don't know if I would call him a reporter. He's more of like a scientist kind of dude. But yeah, I mean, real life deep impact Armageddon situation. Let's say it's gonna hit the U.S. What are you doing?
We're at in the U.S. Wait, is it going to wipe out the entire U.S. if it's 5 times more powerful than the A-bomb?
See, that's what I'm thinking. If it hits land, wouldn't it do less damage than if it hits the ocean and just creates a
Giant
500
tsunami.
foot? Yeah.
I mean, if
because all of our major cities are predominantly by the ocean. So, like, could you imagine a 600-foot wall of water just destroying New York?
I watched Interstellar.
And Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah. What am I doing? I'm probably going to get back on the sauce.
Yeah.
You know, that's step number 1. At that point, my financial future doesn't really matter, so I'm probably just going to try my best to enjoy it. Honestly, I think this would take care of a lot of my problems. I'd quit worrying so much about the future and trying to plan ahead. Maybe just enjoy the moment for a change of pace.
Maybe thin the herd a little bit so I have a good chance of getting that job I keep applying for.
Yeah, there you go. I'm probably just gonna have fun. I don't know. Go to the local watering hole, rack up a tab on a credit card that I'm not gonna pay off because the world's gonna end.
Here's what you do: if it's gonna hit the ocean and you know that this wave is gonna come in and destroy things,
Buy flotation devices.
I was gonna say buy land that will eventually be oceanfront property, in Alabama or Arkansas or something.
Yeah, leverage that.
Turns out you're just completely wrong and you're stuck with like millions of dollars worth of shitty land in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do. I'd probably something along those lines.
I would probably, I don't know, maybe have intercourse once or twice. Everything that I've been trying not to do is probably what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it's a good call.
And enjoy the finer things of life. Maybe it should happen, so I quit worrying so much about the future. What would you do, our loyal listeners? You got to ask yourself that question. Feel free to share with us on our socials. No Brains, No Headache. Check it out. I wrote Almost Heroes here. I don't really have anything. I think it's I just think it's a great film. We're gonna have movie night.
I'm excited. We should do that this weekend.
Yeah,
Like Sunday or something.
I was out with some friends and I was abstaining from the alcoholic beverages, and there's that scene in Almost Heroes where they're having that ball and he offers him some whiskey and he's like, I fear inebriation. And then so he takes a sip and he's just like, not bad. So one of our friends, I was like, finish your beer, let's go to the bar. And he's like, give me some time. And he's like attempting to chug a beer. It's like the most pathetic thing I've ever heard and seen. And I start heckling him about it. And he's like, well, why don't you do it then? And he didn't think I was going to. So I grabbed his beer and slammed it down, my first, drink of the night. And I did that exact thing where I was like, not bad. If you haven't watched Almost Heroes, check it out. That's really all I had. Let's move on to Matt's most famous and recent segment. It's called Wait, You Can't Do That?
Okay. Wait, you can't do that. Man dresses up in a bear costume to fake attack cars for insurance payouts.
He attacks on cars? How does this work?
So he puts on this bear costume and he had those things that are like what you use to like if you slow roast a chicken or something to shred it up.
Okay, like the claws.
Yeah. And he used those to like destroy his car and then say it was a bear.
For insurance fraud.
Yeah, and then they found video of it that's very clearly not a bear.
Yeah, does he not think that they're gonna like investigate this? Not only the authorities, but also the insurance company.
And then two, they just found the bear costume in his house.
Okay, I see the picture now. Yeah, he's got the chicken shredders.
And it was all like high end cars. Like there was a Mercedes Benz, a Rolls Royce.
All his?
It was like him and his friends. So it's conveniently like him and his 6 friends all put in insurance claims. I think they got like $150,000 before they got caught.
You know, sometimes I think that you and I have pretty bad ideas, but this is terrible. That's a terrible bear costume as well.
It's wearing a shirt too, I'm pretty sure.
That looks so fake.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's nobody in that bear costume. It's just laying on the ground, but...
Yeah, it was a Rolls Royce, 2 Mercedes. These guys are very, I'm going to say, Western Asian, along the lines of the...
Was this in America?
Yeah, it was in California, but...
Got insurance fraud.
Yeah,
what a good
San
time.
Bernardino County turns out is just not very good at their job. If these 4 people could do this for, I'm assuming, probably about a year before you figure out that that's not an actual bear. And is there bears in San Bernardino?
Here's the issue, too. You know, I'm all for a good scheme. You know, got to do what you got to do. You know, break the law, whatever. The problem is when you keep doing it, you know, eventually somebody's going to connect the dots or you're going to get caught. You know, it's like the would you ever rob a bank scenario. It's like, yeah, I probably would, you know, or like I watched the movie The Mule with Homeboy. What's his name again? Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
And yeah, he just keeps on going on runs and he keeps on getting paid more and more and more and more. And it's like, well, I guess, you know, greed is a fickle bitch, but... I think that's the problem. Like you could maybe if you want to do this bear insurance fraud scheme like once or twice, I'm all for it. Go for it. Whatever, more power to you. But yeah, if you keep doing it, it's just eventually you're gonna get caught.
I mean, if you're gonna do it
right.
Go get an actual bear.
Yeah, if you're gonna get that much money, I think it'd be cheaper just to like
go put a bunch of meat on your car in like the San Bernardino forest and then just leave it there for like 3 days.
Yeah, go scout where the bears are at.
Yeah.
Leave some raw meat out and then they'll just go to town on your car and then you'll get the insurance.
I feel like we just outsmarted these 4 guys from Turkmenistan.
Yeah.
And San Bernardino.
Well, I think I just cooked up our next scheme.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of bears in Bismarck, but there's about to be.
Yeah.
They're like, bear sightings have spiked in Bismarck, North Dakota, and there's just... Our cars are just torn to shreds.
We just keep like going to the zoo and like taking pictures of like, yes, wolf got. It's like you're very clearly at the zoo. You
can see the fence. You can see the little self-serve little coin machine to get corn to feed the goats.
I would be a terrible drug mule because if I got pulled over with like 400 pounds of hashish in the back of my trunk, I would I would start sweating immediately.
Yeah, you'd already be sweating.
The cop would get up there and then he'd be like, "Hey, can I have your license and registration?" I'd be like, "Not drugs.
I don't have any drugs on me. Here's the license."
Yeah, here's my license that says I don't have any drugs in the car and we should be on our way, right?
You got anything I should know about in the vehicle? Definitely not 400 kilos of hashish in my trunk in a black bag. Definitely not that.
There's not a handgun within reach right now.
Yeah, I don't think we would... Or you would be great at the schemes. I don't know. I'm trying to like do things the right way.
Me, on the other hand, I could definitely be a drug mule.
I would probably do it, once or twice. Why not?
Allegedly.
I don't see the issue with that. It's a matter of time. Do I have enough time on my hands? I got to record a weekly podcast, otherwise people get upset at us and then talk about nothing for an hour.
Yeah, I don't want to be called a dick bag for not doing a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, a fuck toilet, that's what really crosses the line. Well, I also have a wait, you can't do that. And this isn't really a news story. It's just some juicy gossip that I heard through the grapevine. So, Matt, you know that I have several responsibilities. I do a lot of different things with my time for work, and I got that too, but it doesn't pay the bills the way it should.
Yet.
You just wait. OnlyFans at Cowboy Gordon. So I heard through the grapevine at this, let's just call it a local store, and at this local store, there's a meat department, okay? And within this meat department, there are two gentlemen who work there. I don't know if gentlemen, once I get to the end of the story, if you're going to call them gentlemen. Let's just say they're not all there, okay? So a few days ago, one of these gentlemen came across somebody that I know, and this gentleman was, bitching and moaning about another guy that he doesn't like because he's lazy, right? He doesn't wipe down the surfaces. He doesn't do his job. And then this guy says, if he keeps it up, I'm going to snap someday. Well, come to find out that gentleman one we were talking about, gentleman A, we'll call him, they got into an argument at work. Then he decides to rage quit. And on his way out to the parking lot, he goes out and slashes all 4 of his tires. Very clear as day. There's cameras everywhere. People were watching him leave because when you rage quit, you kind of got to escort them out. Yep, this guy apparently had a knife on him too, which is the scariest part. And just 4 tires.
So he's getting escorted out by a couple managers. He's like, "Oh, 1 second." Just Yep. I mean, the car is parked right there. Lost his job and now is probably facing some sort of criminal offense. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, that is the best thing that I heard all day. That's awesome. I thought you were going with another story I heard in the greater North Dakota area. There's a high school basketball star that apparently his dad is actually Wally Zerbiak from the Minnesota Timberwolves in the early 2000s.
Is that true?
Yeah.
So I'm confused. What's the story?
That his dad is not his actual dad. It's actually Wally Zerbiak.
And that's why he's probably really good at basketball.
Yeah.
That is some pretty juicy gossip.
I heard it from 4 or 5 different people this week, unprompted. So,
well, and the reason that the person who found out and told me was because I always go into this particular store and I always mess with them. I'm like, hey, there's a car in the parking lot on fire. You might want to call somebody. They believe me sometimes.
Is this a place that has a back door?
I mean, I'm sure there's a back door
that you can come in.
Matt, you put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
I don't want to say names.
Yeah.
Okay. But so yeah, apparently, wait, you can't do that. Wait, you can't rage quit your job and then go slash his tires in clear daylight in front of the whole store. Yeah. I'm telling if I'm working somewhere and if there's an altercation, if somebody rage quits, I'm gonna go watch. Because it's like a car accident. You can't look away. It's like, oh boy, and for me, it'd be like, man, they're gonna do something crazy, and this guy just slashed all 4 tires. So yeah, won't be seeing a whole lot of that guy around those parts anymore, which is probably for the best.
Yeah.
There was a lot of rumors that he was just drinking on the job all the time.
Well, probably was.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but now that the story came out, it's like, okay, yeah, that guy was definitely drinking heavily on the job.
One time I went into a butcher shop and I just needed some salt and pepper, thinking that they would have little packets because I just had to cook something, and I found a thing of pepper and I was like, oh, you guys don't have any salt left? He's like, oh, I'll run and grab you some back. We use it to cure meats and stuff. So we got a bunch. He gives me a 4-pound bag of salt for free, and I've been using it for the past 8 years.
Why not? That's enough salt to last you a long time.
He's like, oh, here you go. And it was a grocery bag full of salt. And I was like, thanks.
Well, now I know where to get my salt.
Or they buy it in 55-gallon drums to cure meats, apparently.
Yeah, that's what they do at butcher shops. Who would have thought? But wait, you can't do that. You can't put on a bear costume and collect insurance. It's called insurance fraud, and apparently you can't rage quit and then go slash tires while everybody's watching you. If you're going to slash tires, do it in a dark alleyway, when they're least expecting it.
Yours is way worse because at least in my scenario, they tried, albeit terribly, to cover it up, but at least they tried to cover it up.
Well, I can't, in the movie Half Baked, when the guy goes nuts at the fast food store, it's the classic clip where he's like, fuck you, you're cool, fuck you.
Yeah.
I imagine that's what he did on the way out of this said store, which I will not be naming.
Yeah.
I probably should have checked for headline. I just found that out earlier today. I was having a very boring day, and then this person texted me this juicy news, and I was like, honestly, That's
awesome. That's his voice.
I wasn't having a terrible day, but I was
Monday well spent.
yeah, no, I wasn't having a bad day or terrible day by any means. It was just kind of boring, pretty, lull and dull. And once I got this news, and then I did it to everybody. I was like, "Oh my god, did you want to hear this one?"
Nothing revs my engine like a local story that like really piques my interest.
Yeah, we'll Google it after we're done recording here and see if there's a story about it. I mean, if there's any journalists in the Bismarck, Mandan, greater area who's worth a shit, they're gonna find out the dirty details of this. Because
if not, they could just start listening to No Brains, No Headache, and we can just have this.
Well, we break news here.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a meteor gonna hit in 2027 and in 2032. News to me, you found out that both Armageddon and Deep Impact both came out in 1998. Well, maybe you didn't find that out.
That one's pretty common knowledge. And you're a movie guy. I thought for sure you were.
I never heard of Deep Impact.
Oh, yeah.
Except for the porn parody. So.
Yeah. Deep Impact.
Deep in crack. Anyway, I think that's our episode 200. Episode 239. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, Matt, how can our listeners get more involved in the No Brains, No Headache lifestyle?
Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on all social media platforms just by searching No Brains, No Headache. We'll be the first one that pops up. You'll see our lovely little logo there. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and you can leave us a review or a rating on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm hoping by next week we will have some more show dates to announce for you. Until then, up next, episode 240.
You're watching Channel 4 News with 5-time Emmy Award-winning anchor Ron Burgundy and Tits McGee.
Good evening, San Diego. I'm Veronica Corningstone. Tits McGee is on vacation.